Part 47. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 461. Not to mention Yan Xiangluo's other talents, just this alchemy skill alone can make him rampant on the mainland. Not to mention that her medical skills are unparalleled in the world, and she has a master poison king. She is also known as the Little Poison King. Follow the master and the concubine, and I guarantee you won't make any mistakes in the future. Xian once again lamented Yuji's blindness. He missed the luckiest opportunity in the world. He, Changfeng and Yutang were the lucky ones. Yan Xiangluo put one soul-nourishing pill into a medicine bottle alone, and put the other 5 into a larger medicine bottle to put away. Then she saw Xian looking longingly at the medicine bottle in her hand, her almond-shaped eyes flashing. "You want one?" Xian was stunned for a moment, then surprise burst into his eyes. "Is it okay?" Yan Xiangluo poured out a soul-nourishing pill and threw it to him. "It's just a pill. It's not like we don't have any. You can nourish your soul if you eat it." Xian hurriedly stretched out his hand to catch it. This was a soul-nourishing pill. She came here like this, not afraid of falling, and she could nourish the soul even if she ate it. He wanted to know who could have the luxury of using a soul-nurturing pill as a nutritional medicine. "Eat, do you have it?" He carefully put the soul-nourishing pill into his own medicine bottle. He put the treasure away, but he couldn't bear to eat it. Yan Xiangluo didn't say anything when she saw his actions. It was easy for her to make alchemy, but not everyone could make alchemy easily. Moreover, it is indeed difficult to find all the medicinal materials for the soul-nourishing pill. Even if there are so many rare medicinal materials grown in her Pangu space, they are not all available. It seems that a variety of medicinal materials are needed. If you have the opportunity to go to Yunzhang Mountain for a walk, you may be able to collect more types of rare medicinal materials. Yunzhang Mountain is the mountain where Yunzhang Palace is located. It has more than a dozen peaks. Yunzhang Palace is halfway up the highest peak, Yunzhang Peak. Yunzhang Peak is also the only way to Zhikongtian. Although she is not qualified to go to Zhikongtian yet, she can still go to Yunzhang Mountain for a walk as an alchemist. He is naturally open to medicinal materials. Putting away the remaining 4 elixirs, Yan Xiangluo placed the bottle containing the elixir for Wei Changjiao on the table, sat down aside, took out the map, and asked Xian to come over and study it. "What's the route?" Xian walked over and did not sit down. He just stood aside and looked down at the map. "How long does it take for Miss Yu to arrive at Xianyuan sect?" This speed is the key to deciding the route to take. If you are in a hurry, just take the teleportation array in each city directly. This is the fastest. After all, you have to transit. If they weren't in a hurry, they could plan all the places they wanted to go along the way. In any case, we just need to arrive at Yaoguang City, the venue, before the continental competition starts. There is still a month and a half left. Yan Xiangluo thought for a moment. "Don't worry, we just take the opportunity to learn about the inner continent." Xian agreed with him upon hearing this. As a subordinate who exists like a master's strategist and butler, it is necessary to know all kinds of information about the mainland. Then let's take a short detour from Xiangyang City to the north, so that we can pass by several famous cities in the southern continent. As for Nanjing, do you want to go? Xian was very familiar with various cities in the southern continent. Yan Xiangluo shook her head. "I won't go this time." Going to Nanjing now was like asking the Lord of the Southern Continent to entertain her. She didn't have the time to say it, nor did she have the inclination. "It's okay not to go. I heard that Mrs. Ling left, and the Lord of the Southern Continent is frantically looking for someone." Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Although he didn't know whether Mrs. Ling's departure had something to do with Yan Xiangluo, after all, Mrs. Ling left only after she healed Mrs. Ling. It was not good for Yan Xiangluo to get close to her at this time. Yan Xiangleo was not surprised that Mrs. Yuling made such a decision. It's okay to leave. Why should she stay with such a man? Xian was sure at this time that although Mrs. Ling's departure from the Lord of the Southern Continent was not necessarily instigated by Yan Xiangleo, it must have something to do with her, otherwise she would not have said so calmly that leaving was a good idea. He thought to himself, I want to remind my master that Miss Yu hates men who are half-hearted, and there are many women. Master, you have to guard yourself and don't let Miss Yu down. Otherwise, with her temperament, she will never give master a chance again. The two of them studied for a long time, which city they went to first, and then everything in the city. Xian obviously put in a lot of effort. In just a short time, he had explored every city in the southern continent. Even told Yan Xiangleo what kind of delicious food there was in that city, the chef's cooking skills, etc. Not only did Zhizhikong know that Yan Xiangleo liked to eat, his subordinates also knew that Yan Xiangleo had this hobby. After that, Yan Xiangleo trained her little apprentice to be a foodie because he was young and wanted to eat well to keep healthy. The two of them decided on the route from there to the northern continent, and then the route to the northern continent. After an hour, a new route map appeared on the map. Yan Xiangleo smiled and said, "We will set off in a moment." Xian was startled. He must be too anxious. After some calculations, it was okay. It was only the end of the morning, so it was early. If he left now, he would arrive at the first destination they were studying in the evening. Okay, I'll tell Chen Moran and then ask Xiao how to come over. Xian was not a procrastinator. Since Ruan Xiangleo was in a hurry, let's go. Xian went out. He first told Chen Moran what they were going to do, and then left the family to him, and then asked him to invite the people from Qinglun Mountain over first. Chen Moran was a little surprised that they were about to go out. After answering, he first went to invite the head of Qinglun Mountain and them, and then went to prepare the carriage and horses. The leader of Qinglun Mountain and his team came over quickly. Xian picked up the elixir bottle and handed it to the leader of Qinglun Mountain. Yan Xiangleo said, "The effect of the soul-nourishing pill is immediate. Mr. Wei can take it now, and the effect will be known immediately. She has refined the elixir, but she will not let them take it away for consumption. If something happens during this period, who will it be? She didn't want their reputation to be affected by their mistakes. Now that she had become famous, she didn't want to destroy it." The head of Qinglun Mountain also had this intention. None of them had ever seen what the soul-nourishing pill looks like. Who knows whether it is true or not? The only way is to try it on the spot, and you will know whether it is true or false when the effect is seen. What Yan Xiangleo said was exactly what he wanted. Because of what Yan Xiangleo said, he believed that the pill in the medicine bottle was indeed a soul-nourishing pill. "Okay, I can't wait for my son to get better, so I'll take it now," the head of Qinglun Mountain said directly without being polite. As soon as he finished speaking, he opened the medicine bottle, and the rich fragrance of elixir instantly filled the air. Even the two elders looked shocked. Just by smelling it, their souls felt much better. They wanted to grab it and eat it immediately. They knew that this elixir was indeed a soul-nourishing elixir. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 462. Uge's performance was even more obvious, because his soul body had been damaged a lot for so long, and because he could not integrate with his body for a long time, he was not very comfortable every day. When he smelled the soul-nourishing pill, he felt that his soul body was eager to take it. Out of body. The look on his face was undisguisedly anxious. The head of Qinglun Mountain sighed secretly when he saw his son's expression. He hoped that after he recovered, his son would return to his former smart and steady self. He handed the soul-nourishing pill to his son, and before he could say anything, Uge had already taken it and stuffed it into his mouth and swallowed it. The head of Qinglun Mountain swallowed the words he spoke, feeling a little suffocated. But this is outside, so bear with it. As soon as the soul-nourishing pill was taken into his mouth, Uge's expression showed a sense of comfort. He could clearly feel that the difference between his soul and his body was slowly merging. Uge was ecstatic. This body finally belonged to him. In about a cup of tea, his soul was completely integrated with his body. The previous discomforts in his body were all gone. He couldn't be healthier anymore. Uge tested it, and he was now able to control his body freely, without the sluggish feeling before. The head of King Glun Mountain asked, "Xianxia, how do you feel?" Uge's eyes flashed, and he had to admit that Yan Xiongluo's medical and alchemy skills were indeed very strong, but he didn't want to see Yan Xiongluo be proud, so he opened his mouth and said, "It has some effects, but I'm still a little uncomfortable." At the same time, he also acted like he was still feeling unwell. The head of King Glun Mountain and the two elders looked at each other with some doubts in their hearts. Judging from his expression, they thought everything was fine. Could it be that the effect of the elixir was not strong enough? Yan Xiongluo knew Uge's plan, and she really didn't change her nature. She glanced at him, raised the corner of her lips, took out a wooden block, and said to the head of King Glun Mountain, "Head, take a look at what mystery this is pattern." The head of King Glun Mountain was having doubts in his heart. Yu Xiongluo's words made him confused. What kind of mysterious patterns were he looking at this time? "I can see what the mysterious pattern is." He blurted out, "True words and mysterious patterns." As soon as he finished speaking, he understood immediately that Yan Xiongluo was telling him that his son was lying, and his old face suddenly became colorful. "I don't mind wasting a mantra," Yan Xiongluo said in a leisurely tone while playing with the wooden block. Uge hated Ruan Xiongluo in his heart. He thought that she was also a mysterious pattern master, and her talent was very good. It was not surprising that she had a mantra mysterious pattern. If this mantra mysterious pattern was used on her body, the mantra she would speak would not only be "This is it." He immediately smiled and said, "Dad, I just want to test whether Master Yu is confident enough in his alchemy skills. The effect of the soul-nourishing pill is excellent, and there is no problem with my son's body." No one present could see his blunt excuse, but the head of King Glun Mountain had no choice but to bite the bullet and said, "I'm rude, Master Yu. Please forgive me. This is the reward for treating the child. Thank you for your hard work, Master." The head of King Glun Mountain added some precious items to the reward he had prepared. In front of Yan Xiongluo, his intention was very clear. This was a sincere apology to his son. Yan Xiongluo tossed the block of wood in her hand twice, put it away after successfully seeing Uge's face getting more and more ugly, and gave Xian a wink, who immediately took the gift ring. Then he handed it to Yu Xiongluo. Yan Xiongluo took a look at the contents inside and found that after excluding the newly added items, the reward was similar to that of the lord of Xiangyang city. In comparison, the lord of the mainland was rich. Yu Xiongluo felt a little pity for the leader of King Glun Mountain. He spent such a high price to help the person who devoured his son's soul get his son's body. I wonder what will happen to him one day when he knows the truth. If possible, Yan Xiongluo really doesn't want the head of King Glun Mountain to know. After all, he is a qualified father who has given everything he can for his children. Even though he knew that the child's temper had become bad, he did not give up on him. Yan Xiongluo actually envied Wei Xianxia. Even though he did not live long, he had a father who really loved him. Young Master Wei's body is fine. Be careful not to injure your soul again in the future. It can be cured once, but the next time, I'm afraid it won't be easy to recover as before. In severe cases, your intelligence and certain body functions will be lost, Yan Xiongluo warned her dutifully. The head of King Glun Mountain thanked him again and saw that Yan Xiongluo did not want to see his son anymore, so he quickly took his son to say goodbye and left Yan's mansion. Xian didn't even go to see her off, leaving Chen Moran to see her off. He didn't want to take another look at Uge. When Chen Moran came back and reported that the people had been sent away, Yan Xiongluo asked him to call Chi Hao, and they were ready to set off. After Chen Moran left, Music Xian asked in a low voice, "Miss Yu, are you going to let him go like this?" Music Xian finally understood Uge's character. Keeping such a person would be a disaster, and he couldn't bear to let him continue to harm the head of King Glun Mountain. After all, the leader seemed to be a very decent person, and he couldn't bear to be harmed by Uge like this. Yan Xiongluo raised her lips and smiled, "How is that possible?" As soon as Music Xian's eyes lit up, he knew that Yan Xiongluo would not sing like this, so he immediately moved closer to her, his eyes filled with gossip. "What did you do?" Yan Xiongluo glanced at him and said, "Guess." Music Xian immediately grimaced, "If I could guess it, I wouldn't ask." "You will know later." Music Xian finally knew it, but Yan Xiongluo had no intention of telling him at all. She was scratching her heart and felt uncomfortable. "If you don't do this, I won't be able to eat well or sleep well in the future." Yan Xiongluo rolled her eyes at him. She would be a fool if she believed him. When Music Xian saw this, he knew that he couldn't ask. Well, it was enough to know that Yan Xiongluo had taken action against Ge. As for what he had done, he would know sooner or later. "I'm going to see the carriage." During this trip, Yan Xiongluo didn't want to wrong herself, nor did she want to rush on the road. Anyway, if she had time, she planned to take a carriage all the way to the northern continent in a traveling way, just in time to let her young apprentice see the world. The wider your horizons, the wider your mind will be. Chi Hao will definitely change a lot when he comes back from this trip. Chen Moran brought Chi Hao over, but Chi Chang he did not follow. Chi Hao was in high spirits and saluted immediately when he saw Yu Xiongluo. "Master, my disciples are all ready." Yan Xiongluo stood up and rubbed his head. "Let's go, Master will take you to see your master." Chi Hao happily followed in Yan Xiongluo's footsteps. This was the second happiest thing for him after the death of his relative. The first happiest thing was to become his disciple. Out of the door, Yan Xiongluo suddenly remembered the soul nurturing array and said to Chen Moran, "Let's go to the courtyard of the soul nurturing array." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 463. Chen Moran immediately followed her, and Chi Hao also followed curiously, wanting to see what the master was going to do. Chen Moran thought she was going to destroy the soul nurturing array, but actually he said to keep it first, and they could go in and practice. The effect of practicing in the soul nurturing array was not that good. But thinking of his own duty, he did not speak. Coming to the secluded courtyard, Yan Xiongluo looked at the soul nurturing array arranged by Ji Zhizhong, then took out a few white crystal stones and continued to set up the array. After her formation was completed, Chen Moran clearly sensed that there was another spirit gathering array in the soul nourishing array. Yan Xiongluo clapped her hands and said, "After we leave, there will be nothing going on in the mansion. One person will be left to handle the affairs of the mansion every day, especially the things I have assigned to you. The rest of you can come here to practice and cultivate the soul cultivation array with the addition of the spirit gathering formation. Your practice will get twice the result with half the effort." Chen Moran was very excited. "Thank you very much, Master." "Oh my God, Master, you actually considered their cultivation and set up a spirit gathering array on top of the soul nourishing array. This way, they can practice in it and get twice the result with half the effort. The effect is even better than practicing with spirit stones. After all, this is the practice of spiritual energy absorbed by themselves, which is different from the spiritual energy in spiritual stones. They must work hard to practice and make themselves stronger so that they can do more things for their master to repay their kindness. Yan Xiangluo waved her hand and said, "Why should I thank you?" Turned around and walked out with Chi Hao. Although Chen Moran wanted to stay inside and practice immediately, he still knew what to do now. He immediately followed and watched as Ruan Xiangluo led Chi Hao and Xian into the carriage, then closed the door of the mansion and called everyone in the mansion over. He also invited Qi Changhe, and asked Ruan Xiangluo to cook for them. After telling her the story, they were all very grateful to Yu Xiangluo. They had thought that their own people were here. They looked down on these bought-in slaves and did not expect them to go out, but they thought about them. Qi Changhe looked at the expressions of these people and sighed that these two children were so good at doing things. You see, it was a small thing for them, but it bought the loyalty of these people. What a blessing it is that my grandson can worship her as his teacher. Chen Moran did not lose his mind. He arranged the people who guarded the mansion, working in pairs, to do what Yan Xiangluo told him to do, and then to practice. Although he didn't know who the people named Yunfushan and Long Yimen were who Yan Xiangluo had repeatedly warned him to be, he remembered her instructions. If these two people come, she must contact them immediately. If she cannot contact them, she must show the token she left to the other party and ask the other party to wait for her, or give her the address so she can find them. Just based on what their master has done for them, they must also do it well. At this time, Ruan Xiangluo's carriage was already driving towards the city gate. Xian was sitting outside driving. Chi Hao was also sitting outside out of curiosity. Ruan Xiangluo was sitting alone in the carriage, and Xian was with her. Don't worry about anything, just sit cross-legged and practice. As soon as the carriage left the mansion, the lord of Xiangyang city knew that the only ones who left were Yan Xiangluo, her young apprentice, and the man in charge of the mansion named Xian who liked to wear red robes. Ji Kong did not go. Although he had some doubts in his heart, the person he arranged did not see Ji Kong leave. Based on his observation and understanding in the past few days, Ji Kong did not seem to be someone who could trust Ruan Xiangluo to go out on her own. Although he was full of doubts, he did not send anyone to follow him. Some things must be done in moderation. This is the main reason why he has been able to stabilize his position as the lord of Xiangyang city for so many years. Assessing the situation, being measured, and controlling the situation are indispensable. He just needs to take care of his 3-acre land in Xiangyang city. As for Yan Xiangluo and Ji Kong, no matter what their status is, he only needs to keep their friendship within limits. Not only is the city lord of Xiangyang city paying attention to Yan Xiangluo's whereabouts, but many forces have also placed people there. Even I don't know who has arranged people to collect information on her and Ji Kong. Yan Xiangluo knew very well that from the moment she decided to reveal her medical skills, she would live in the public eye. But it's not impossible for her to conceal her whereabouts if she wants to, but she doesn't want to conceal her whereabouts now. With so many people knowing her news and whereabouts, and her parents also knowing, it will be easy to find her. Although there were only 3 of them, including a child, no one who followed her secretly dared to take an interest in her, simply because the people who were paying attention to her now were all interested in her medical skills. Xian naturally knew that there were many people following him in the dark, including his own people, otherwise he would not have had the courage to leave Xiangyang city alone with master and disciple Yan Xiangluo. After entering the palace to experience this time, everyone's cultivation level has been greatly improved. Ji Kong had told them before that after the training, they should look for opportunities to consolidate their offensive cultivation, and then let them go into the palace to train after the continental competition. There is a certain level of experience. If it is done too frequently, the effect will be bad. Ji Kong selected 30 people to participate in the continental competition. All registrations have been completed, and they must all be in the top 100, especially Xian, Chang Feng, and Jin Yutang. Xian is very aware of his master's behavior. Xuanhuan is not a person who values fame and fortune. Since he is asking them to do this, he must have his own purpose. All they need to do is follow his master's instructions. Now he just needs to accompany Yan Xianglou and wait for his master to gain experience. They all came out after more than 20 days. Even Yan Xianglou came out at 1 month and 10 days. Xuanhuan never came out. Xian knew that he would try his best to improve his cultivation during this experience. The higher the improvement, the better, because Xuanhuan said that he was competing for the first place in the continental competition this time. The first place, that can only be won with a peak holy level cultivation level. Although his master has extraordinary talents, his time is limited, and Xian is not sure what level of cultivation his master will be able to reach this time. But he also knew that as long as Xuanhuan said what he said, he would definitely do it. With his current level of cultivation, if he wanted to participate in the continental competition and get first place, the level of cultivation he needed to improve was not just a matter of a large level. Then if he still said this, he must be successful. Xian still believed in Xuanhuan's wisdom and strength. The trip out of the city went smoothly. Xian drove towards his first goal, Xuanhuan City. He and Yan Xianglou chose Xuanhuan City because there was a grand event in Xuanhuan City these days, the wedding of the city lord of Xuanhuan City. Yan Xianglou was curious about what weddings in the higher mainland were like. She happened to be passing by one, so she wanted to take a look. After all, she hasn't seen any weddings since she returned from the Seoul. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 464. Chapter 464, Arriving at Xuanhuan City. Xian naturally would not refuse. He also took this time to find out what kind of wedding Yan Xianglou liked, and then told his master so that he would know how to prepare for their wedding. Look, this subordinate of his is very competent, he has many positions, and he can do them all well without being asked by his master. Xian was in a good mood and started to tease Qihao next to him. Once or twice is fine, but if the times are too many, Qihao may be a kid, but he can't resist the cleverness of others, and he can see it, and the two begin to bicker with each other in a battle of wits and courage. Our little apprentice has experienced the worst hardships in the world at a young age, and his temperament is different from ordinary children. Having people like Xian by his side can help him regain some of the happiness that belongs to children of his age. Yan Xianglou is happy to see the success, but she doesn't want her little apprentice to live in hatred and the pain of losing a loved one. The bickering between the two does not affect her cultivation at all. As long as she is willing, she can quickly discard all the voices that affect her. If you feel it at this time, you can clearly feel that the spiritual energy around the carriage is flowing into the carriage. This shows how dedicated she is to practicing. After driving the carriage all morning, Xian checked the situation inside the carriage many times. Yu Xianglou had been practicing, so he did not stop and continued on his way. Qihao only sat outside for more than an hour. Tired of bickering with Xian, he also went into practice. Xian felt very emotional in his heart. What kind of master leads what kind of disciple? Look at the master who doesn't waste any time in training, and the same goes for his little disciple. From Xiangyang City to Xuanhuan City, it only takes half a day to fly in the air, and the flying time of spirit beasts is even shorter. But with chariots and horses, even if the horses they use at this time are the strongest spirit horses, it will still take a whole day. The time will come. Therefore, people who are in a hurry to do things will choose a faster way to walk. If there is an urgent matter, they can use the teleportation pattern and teleportation array. After all, it will be there in an instant. However, whether it is a teleportation profound pattern or a teleportation array, it is very expensive to use once, and most people cannot afford it. No matter how rich people are, they will not use teleportation arrays often. High-priced items such as teleportation mysterious patterns will not be used unless they have to, unless they are those prosperous families who are really not short of money. Although Yan Xianglou could not teleport the mysterious pattern, she was not in a hurry. She also wanted to take the opportunity to learn about the customs of the inner continent, so she chose to travel by carriage and horse. Without resting at noon, they arrived at Xuanhuan city before midnight. Xian reminded Xianglou softly, "Miss Yu, we will arrive at Xuanhuan city soon." Hearing this, Yan Xianglou took it in and lifted the curtain of the car to take a look. From a distance, I could see the flaming red city wall of Xuanhuan. When the carriage got closer, I could see clearly that the city wall and the city gate tower were actually decorated with red silk. No wonder it looked flaming red. As expected, the city lord's wedding is different. The whole city is celebrating with red makeup. However, it can also be seen from this that the lord of Xuanhuan city likes his bride very much, otherwise he would not make such a big show of it. Xian glanced at Yan Xianglou's excited eyes, rolled his eyes, and silently made a note of this. It seemed that the girl liked this very much, and he must remind his master. Just to do this, they must first have their own territory. The carriage was warmly welcomed into Xuanhuan city. It had nothing to do with anything else, just because the city lord was getting married. Most of the people who came to Xuanhuan city had received invitations to congratulate them, and those who didn't also wanted to come and watch the ceremony. The visitor is a guest, so the people guarding the city are much more polite and hospitable than before. The city is also ablaze, every household has hung up red lanterns and covered itself with red silk, and joy can be seen everywhere. It has been several months since I came to the higher continent, and this is the first time I feel the enthusiasm of the people in the higher continent. However, after they were happy, they were in trouble again. The reason was very simple. The lord of Xuanhuan city was getting married and Xuanhuan city was overcrowded. All the inns were full and they couldn't find a place to stay. Xian took his time and settled the master and apprentice in a restaurant for dinner. The carriage was placed in the backyard of the restaurant for the waiter to feed the horses. He went out to think of a solution. Except for the time when he ran away with his grandfather, this was the first time Qihao had traveled far away. Everything he saw was strange, especially the whole city was decorated with joy. Even at night, it was still so lively that even a pair of eyes felt that it was not enough. Lying on the window, looking at the busy streets below, I didn't eat much. Yan Xianglou didn't stop him either. He was a child, so he had to have the happiness of a child. Moreover, the world he sees through his own eyes is different from the world described by others. He has his own thinking and his own way of understanding the world. Bringing him out this time was not just for fun, but to let him gain experience. Only by experiencing it personally and seeing it with his own eyes can the experiences he has witnessed be engraved in his bones and become his life experience. This is what she has experienced personally, and she is still accumulating experience now. Yu Xianglou ate slowly and leisurely. After he was full, Xian came back dusty. Finally, Qihao's attention was drawn back. Qihao sat next to Xian, ate with him, and asked if he had found his place. Xian said while eating, "I found it. I rented a small courtyard that is for sale but has not yet been sold. We will go there after dinner." Qihao suddenly became happy. "That's great, brother Xian is so awesome, they have a place to stay tonight." Xian's lips twitched. "You should be called uncle." Qihao glanced at him and said, "That's my brother." Yan Xianglou glanced at Xian sympathetically, "Asking you to amuse the child. It's better now, and you've made yourself a generation younger by teasing." Xian and Qihao were bickering and eating while Yu Xianglou, who was full, was drinking tea and looking out the window. The day after tomorrow is the wedding day of the city lord of Xuanhuan city, so the celebration started 3 days in advance. During these 3 days, the city gates will not be closed and the curfew will be lifted. Therefore, Xuanhuan city should be very lively during these 3 nights. After all, such opportunities are too rare. There are only 3 days during the Chinese New Year that there is no curfew, and it is almost the first time that the city gates are not closed. Mainly for the convenience of congratulatory guests who can enter the city at any time. All kinds of people were coming and going in the street, all leisurely, and traders also seized the opportunity to make a lot of money. At this moment, Yan Xianglou saw a woman wearing a pink dress and a black bamboo hat walking hurriedly. The hurried look showed that he was avoiding someone. Yan Xiangluo's eyes widened, not because she knew the other person, but because she was dressed like this at this time, which attracted attention, and something could happen at a glance. In a moment, the woman's figure quickly hid behind the door of a shop, and then, Yan Xianglou saw a group of guards rushing past. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 465. After the guards passed by, the woman came out and turned into the alley again, and disappeared. Yan Xianglou raised her eyebrows. Are these guards looking for this woman? This was just a small incident, and Yan Xianglou didn't care. She came here to watch the wedding of the Lord of Changchuan City, and she wasn't here to meddle in other people's business. Girl, let's go to where we live. Xian's voice interrupted her thoughts. Yan Xianglou turned around and looked over. Almost all the plates on the table were empty. The 2 people's fighting ability was still good. Although they ordered food cooked by Ling Chef, the quantity was quite large. She only ate a little bit. This is good, better than wasting it. Let's go. Ruan Xianglou stood up, and Chi Hao and Xian followed immediately. After Xian went downstairs to pay for the meal, the 3 of them went to the backyard, got on the carriage and headed towards the small courtyard that Xian rented. Xian did not rent this small courtyard arbitrarily. It is not far from the main street. The carriages and horses of the Lord of Changchuan City's wedding must pass through the main street, so it is very convenient to come out and watch. And it's not far from the city lord's mansion. If possible, they are going to have a wedding banquet at the city lord's mansion. After entering the small courtyard, Xian pointed out the room where Ruan Xianglou lived, and then he and Chi Hao went to park the carriage. Yan Xianglou walked towards the house where she lived. Before she entered, she narrowed her eyes and saw that there was someone inside. Yan Xianglou stood outside without moving, letting go of her consciousness, and clearly felt that the breath of the people in the room had changed. Come out. Yan Xianglou's voice was light. The breath of the person inside the room paused, and then the door opened and a person walked out. Yan Xianglou narrowed her eyes. Is it her? The person who came out of the house was the woman wearing a pink skirt and a black hat that she saw in the restaurant. At this time, she was still wearing a bamboo hat and her appearance could not be seen clearly. By such a coincidence, she actually hid in the yard they rented. Yan Xianglou was speechless. It was such a coincidence. Why is the girl here? The woman did not answer her question, but said angrily, isn't this yard not sold yet? Who are you and why are you here? Yan Xianglou felt relieved when she heard the woman's tone. She was obviously a person who had been pampered and grown up. This yard has indeed not been sold yet. We are tenants. We rented it for 3 days and came to Changchuan City to watch the wedding of the city lord. Yan Xianglou explained clearly. The woman said with some annoyance, what's so good about that hypocrite's wedding? Yan Xianglou raised her eyebrows, and the tone of her voice indicated that this girl knew the lord of Changchuan City, and there seemed to be a story behind her. I just don't know what the relationship is between her and the lord of Changchuan City. Could it be that she is a little green plum that cannot be loved? At this time, Yan Xianglou checked all the plots in the novels she had read on the woman in front of her, but she still didn't know which one it was. It seems that the guard team was indeed sent by the lord of Changchuan City. He did not dare to look for people in a big way, but only sent a team of guards, indicating that the relationship between the two people should not be known to the public. Yan Xianglue walked over and said, "Girl, if you have no place to go, you can stay here, but I can only be the host for 3 days. The implication is that I am also a tenant and can only be the owner for these 3 days. As for after 3 days, it will not be her decision." Although he knew that keeping her would be troublesome, I am afraid that the Lord of Changchuan City already knows that she is here. If he drives her away, if something happens, the Lord of Changchuan City may be angry, so he still stays. Bar. The woman paused for a moment and then said, "Thank you very much, miss. I wonder what your surname is." Wan Yu and Xianglue walked into the main room and sat down on the main seat. She glanced at the room with her peripheral vision. The room was very clean. Xian had obviously found someone to clean it up. The woman walked in after her, thought for a moment and sat down under her. "Thank you so much, Miss Yun." She thought that what Xianglue was talking about was the cloud of clouds, so she naturally called her Miss Yun. "Can I ask the girl her name?" Yan Xianglue looked at the woman and asked. Even though I asked this question, I knew in my heart that she didn't even dare to show her face, and I'm afraid she wouldn't be able to say her name. She was just asking politely. As expected, the woman said in an arrogant tone, "I don't know if it's good for you." Yan Xianglue looked like she knew it would be like this, and she didn't want to say more. "I will live in the room on the right, and the girl will live in the room on the left." Originally, the room on the left, Xian, was for Chi Hao. Now Chi Hao and Xian can only stay for 1 night, and there is no time to clean up other rooms. "Thank you." Yan Xianglue glanced at her and said, "There's no need to thank you. We're just here to watch the ceremony. Just don't cause trouble for us, girl." This is Yan Xianglue's sincere words. It doesn't matter whether she thanks her or not. What's important is that she doesn't cause them any unnecessary trouble. They came just to watch the fun, not to get into trouble. The woman said arrogantly, "Don't worry, I'm not an ungrateful person. I will find a chance to leave tonight. I'm just staying for a while." At this time, Xian and Chi Hao came back. "Master, those 2 spirit horses are really good at eating." Before Chi Hao finished speaking, he saw a woman wearing a pink skirt and a black bamboo hat sitting in the room, and he immediately choked back what he said. Xian was also stunned. He explained how he sensed 2 auras in the room. He didn't feel like he was his master, and why he was a woman who didn't dare to show her face. "Girl, who is this?" Xian carefully removed Yan Xianglue's last name and called her girl directly. Yan Xianglue shrugged, "I don't know her either. She's staying here for a while and will leave at any time. Let Xiao Hao stay with you tonight." Xian wanted to say something else, but since Yan Xianglue had made up his mind, he did not refute. Anyway, it would be better for him to be more vigilant, and let the people guarding him in secret be more vigilant as well. After Xian responded, he pulled Chi Hao, who was still confused, out, and closed the door thoughtfully. Yu Xianglue stood up and said, "I've been traveling all day, so I won't sit with the girl anymore. It's up to you. This is not my home anyway, and you won't be able to stay long. Someone will probably come to arrest her soon. She'd better go to bed." The woman watched Yan Xianglue get up and go back to the room. She stared at the closed door and wondered what she was thinking. After a while, she also got up and went to the room opposite the door. But she didn't sleep. She sat cross-legged on the bed and meditated, her mind paying attention to the outside of the small courtyard, looking for an opportunity to leave. Yan Xianglue returned to the room and did not practice. She lay on the bed and really fell asleep. Of course, she called Yun Tuan out to take charge of the warning. The cloud was nestled on her pillow and around her neck. It was so small that you couldn't even notice it, so Xianxia really fell asleep with peace of mind. At midnight, the voice of a cloud sounded in her consciousness, "Master, someone is coming." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 466. Chapter 466 Breach of Trust. Xianxia suddenly opened her eyes, let go of her consciousness, and immediately felt that there were more than a dozen auras in the yard, all of which were very strong. One of the auras was so powerful that her blood surged up. At this time, Xianxia was already standing in the yard, looking at the man wearing a crimson robe opposite and asked coldly, "Who are you? Why are you here in the middle of the night?" The man opposite glanced at Xianxia, obviously not taking him seriously, but paused for a moment at his fiery red robe. "Who are you? What is the purpose of coming to Xuanhuan city?" The man opposite asked the question without answering. Xianxia snorted, "Of course you came to Xuanhuan city to watch the ceremony. Don't you know that the mayor of Xuanhuan city is getting married?" The man narrowed his eyes, looked away, and looked at the room opposite where Xianxia was staying. His voice could not detect any emotion and said, 11 don't be so petty and come back with me." His words did not call out the person he wanted, but instead called out a woman wearing a fiery red dress. Xianxia opened the door and stood at the door and glanced at the man. He looked very majestic and not angry. Could this be the Lord of Xuanhuan city? The Lord of Xuanhuan city shrank his eyes and was stunned by Xianxia's stunning appearance, but he returned to normal in just a moment. But his eyes paused for a moment on her fiery red dress. After all, at such a young age, there are too few people wearing such brightly colored dresses. After all, if the childish appearance cannot suppress the color of the clothes, it will make people feel nondescript. Xianxia raised her hand and knocked on the door next to her, making a noise, and then said, "Girl, as agreed, we are just here to watch the ceremony. Don't cause us any trouble, and you must keep your word." What she actually means is that hiding is not an option, and you can't escape. They are obviously very strong, so don't involve us. Come out and solve the problem. Sure enough, as soon as she finished speaking, the woman in the room walked out angrily. This time she was not wearing a hat, and her face was as delicate as a lotus for Xianxia to see clearly. Although she cannot be called a stunning beauty, she is still of excellent appearance. The woman stood with Xianxia and glanced at the man opposite. "You are about to get married, why do you still want to enjoy the blessings of everyone? Then you are looking for the wrong person. This is the kind of person I hate the most." Xianxia's bag's heart suddenly awakened. She was indeed the Lord of Xuanhuan city. Could she really be the Lord's little childhood sweetheart? But seeing as he likes her very much, why would he marry someone else? 11 you know I have no choice but to do so, the Lord of Xuanhuan city said in a helpless and doting tone. Xianxia raised her eyebrows, and she had already sketched out several sadomasochism scenarios in her mind, where you love me and I love you but are forced by reality to not be together. I know, so I took the initiative to leave very wisely. I just don't understand what you did, as if someone put a knife on your neck and forced you. The woman named 11's tone was strong and sarcastic. It was obvious that she had made up her mind to leave, not to force the other party to make any choice. Xianxia's apricot eyes widened. It seemed that she had thought wrongly. This was not sadomasochism, but a scumbag's betrayal. 11 don't make trouble, I will solve it. How to solve it? Let me be your concubine or be invisible. You should know my temper. 11 was aggressive. 11 you know how difficult it is for me to get to where I am now. Do you want me to go back to before? The Lord of Xuanhuan city held back something in his tone, lacking some gentleness. 11er glanced at him, with disappointment and determination in her eyes. That's why I decided to leave. Isn't this just what you want? You gave up our relationship first, so don't act like you are so affectionate and have no regrets and are forced to be helpless. You know me and my eyes. Not a grain of sand can be squeezed into it, let alone a grain of sand. When you make a decision, you show that my interests are not as important as yours in your heart. You should know that at that moment there is no relationship between us. It's over. Even if you cancel the wedding now, I won't look back. What's more, why don't we just get together and get together? 11er's words can be said to have torn off the opponent's face and trampled it on the ground, and the atmosphere suddenly became deadlocked. It became clear to Xianxia that it turned out to be a scumbag drama. In her heart, she admired the decisiveness of this girl named 11er. This is how she should deal with a scumbag, giving up without hesitation. Xian and Xianxia looked at each other. The meaning was very clear. Trouble. This drama is too big to see in vain. After knowing the private affairs of the city lord, they still want to get out alive. How can they be allowed to do so? Xianxia naturally knew that the matter was serious. She knew from leaving the woman named 11er yesterday that the matter might not be simple. The current situation was just the worst outcome she imagined. However, there is no use regretting it, just play it by ear. To be honest, she doesn't want to watch this wedding. She has no interest in the wedding of a person who abandons his feelings for profit, no matter how luxurious and beautiful it is. At this time, Chi Hao was quietly standing next to Xian, his big eyes moving. Even a fool knew that the situation was not good, not to mention that this kid was very smart. Xianxia winked at him, and Chi Hao immediately nodded, understanding what the master meant. The master asked him to listen to Xian. 11er, you know my feelings for you, I won't let you go no matter what you say. The lord of Changchuan City closed his eyes, as if he had made some decision. 11er sneered, with a look of disdain on her delicate face, Zilu, you won't forget what my family does, right? As soon as she finished speaking, the face of the lord of Changchuan City suddenly changed. You lied to me. 11er said sarcastically, lied to you? It's because you don't like girls making weapons, so I concealed that I am a weapon refiner. Originally, after many years of relationship, I wanted to save face for you so that we could get together and part ways, but you didn't agree. Ah. Xianxia narrowed her eyes. This girl named 11er is actually a weapon refiner? What kind of trump card does the weapon refiner have that makes the lord of Changchuan City so afraid? Ming 11er's cultivation level is similar to hers, but the cultivation level of the city lord of Changchuan City is already close to the level. Xianxia winked at Xian. Xian nodded invisibly and led Chi Hao towards Xianxia's side. The lord of Changchuan City naturally noticed his actions, but did not stop him. In his eyes, these three people were already dead. Since they knew so much, it didn't matter if they knew more. Anyway, no matter how much the dead knew, there was no threat. 11er, you forced me, the lord of Changchuan City said with a gloomy expression. 11er sneered, I may and want to build a memorial arch. I, Fang 11er, must be very blind to be able to like you. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 467. Xianxia said secretly in her heart, girl, you are right, you are really blind when you look at such a man. But it's not too late now, it just depends on whether you can get rid of him. This is how you look at our relationship for so many years. The lord of Changchuan City's face was so dark that water dripped from his face. Fang 11er snorted coldly, I'm just being merciful. If you don't want to hear anything more disgusting, just get out of here. With her peripheral vision, She glanced at the three people standing at the door watching the excitement, and she was secretly worried. It was okay for her to leave on her own, but these three people were implicated by her, and she couldn't just leave like this. I have promised not to cause trouble to them before, but why are these three people so clueless? Even if they are like this, they still don't find a chance to escape quickly. They are still watching with relish. Is it because they are too slow to die? 11 You are so kind and don't want to implicate others, right? The Lord of Changchuan City looked at Yuan Xiongluo and the others with unclear eyes. Yan Xiongluo cursed in her heart, this man is really a dog, he can't explain that he actually used the girl's weakness to force her. She wanted to know what Fang 11 would do. What Fang 11 was most worried about happened, can you be more despicable? Yan Xiongluo echoed in her heart, yes, girl, you are right, he is indeed despicable, and it looks like he can be even more despicable. As long as I can keep you, what does it matter if I'm mean? The Lord of Changchuan City no longer had the hypocrisy in his eyes, only cruelty and ruthlessness. Fang 11 took a deep breath, obviously knowing that anything she said to him would be in vain. Turning to Ruan Xiongluo, he said, Miss Yun, I'm sorry, I still caused trouble for you, but don't worry, they want to kill you, unless they step on my body. If I can't save you even if I die, then they will. If you owe it, you'll pay it back in the next life. The face of the Lord of Changchuan City suddenly became more gloomy. 11 are you so cruel that you would rather die than stay with me? Miss 11 sneered, don't talk to me in such a tone. I'm so sick that I want to vomit. The Lord of Changchuan City was choked and had nothing to say. He could only say harshly, you forced me to do this. Obviously, he didn't want to let her go, even if she threatened to die. Yan Xiongluo smiled after listening to the conversation between the two, you have a strong temper. With your words, I don't regret keeping you. However, it is not worth dying for such a man. Since I dare to keep you, of course there are ways to save your life, don't worry about us, just do what you want. Fang 11 was stunned. She didn't expect that Yan Xiongluo would say that. She was a little doubtful, but seeing her confident look, she knew in her heart that she must have underestimated her. Are you sure? Although he knew that Yan Xiongluo should have some means to protect himself, Fang 11 asked again. Yan Xiongluo nodded, I'm sure, the person in front of me is not the only one who wants my life. You see, I'm not alive and well. Fang 11 was amused by Yan Xiongluo's words, I like this personality. If you don't mind my age, how about we become sisters? Only then did Yan Xiongluo think that although Fang 11 looked young, high-level mainlanders advanced quickly in cultivation. As long as their talents were not too bad, it was very common for monks to live for 1800 years. Therefore, many people who were hundreds of years old, it is normal for people to look like they are in their 20s, and it is also normal for people to marry and have children only when they are hundreds of years old. Is Fang 11 very old? Although she was confused, Yan Xiongluo's appreciation of a person had nothing to do with the other person's age. She just admired and agreed with 11's behavior of kicking the scumbag without hesitation, and she must have a good heart if she never breaks her promise to strangers like them. However, if you become sworn sisters, you still have to think about it. She can't make a sworn relationship just because of a casual relationship. In her heart, becoming sworn sisters means sharing life and death together, so she won't make the decision easily. And I also have an adopted brother from the demon clan. When I think of my adopted brother, I feel a little ashamed. I have been here for several months and I have not yet gone to see my adopted brother. After he became famous this time, his sworn brother should know that he was here. Would he be angry? Sigh, let's find a suitable opportunity to go to the demon clan to meet my sworn brother. Although his thoughts ran a little far, there was not much time. It was just a moment, which in Fang 11ER's eyes was just a moment of hesitation. In my understanding, being sworn sisters means sharing life and death together. If we really have this fate in the future, it's not impossible. Yan Xiangluo politely refused, but also explained the reason, indicating that she did not look down on Fang 11ER, but because she valued the relationship after the sworn relationship and would not make a decision easily. Fang 11ER heard this and a bright smile broke out on her face. She is indeed the girl I like. I like the way she handles things. I will wait for the day when my fate comes. The corner of Xian's mouth twitched at the side. Could you please take a look at what's going on now? Didn't you see that the face of the Lord of Changchuan City has turned as dark as a crow? You are still discussing the matter of becoming the master. Is it time? You can go to the underworld to worship. The Lord of Changchuan City lost his patience. Fang Xia ignored him and said to Yan Xiangluo, who leaves first? Yan Xiangluo smiled, together. Fang 11ER's eyes suddenly lit up. Okay. The Lord of Changchuan City was very angry this time. These two people ignored him completely. Did they treat him and others as decorations? Even if Fang 11ER is a weapon refiner, it doesn't matter. Her strength is not as strong as her father and brother. With his current strength and the strength of the people he brought, it is impossible for her to escape. He raised his hand and said, keep Fang 11ER alive and kill the others. The people behind him got the order and immediately ran towards the four of them. Yan Xiangluo looked at the Lord of Changchuan City mockingly. She had prepared the worst when she decided to keep Fang 11ER. Now, in her territory, she is still so bold. How confident this person is. Is it because his cultivation level is higher than theirs? Indeed, it is a big level higher. Yan Xiangluo is now the 4th level of the Emperor level. At her age, it is not ordinary. After all, in the advanced continent, most people with the Emperor level cultivation level are over 30 years old. There are only a few people who can reach the Emperor level at the age of 20, and they are all geniuses without exception. However, Zhang Zilu of Changchuan City is a 5th level saint level cultivation level. Therefore, it makes sense for people to look down on their cultivation. But he forgot that a person's strength is not only the level of cultivation, there are also endless methods in this continent. The thing that Yan Xiangluo lacks most is the means. When Zhang Zilu asked someone to come over, Fang Xia thought, and a dark disc-like object appeared in her hand. Yan Xiangluo didn't understand what it was, but she saw Zhang Zilu's expression change. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 468. How come the Fang family's only frisbee is in your hand? Zhang Zilu's tone became less calm and he raised his hand to make people stop. Fang 11ER sneered, my grandfather gave it to me when I left the Fang family for you. At that time, my grandfather asked me to make an oath. I couldn't let you know. I was reluctant at the time. Now it seems that my grandfather's eyes are bright. I've known for a long time that you are not someone I can entrust with my whole life, so I gave me a life-saving escape route. Zhang Zilu's face became increasingly ugly. Fang 11ER continued, at that time, I thought, if we make an oath, we will make an oath. With this flying disc, we can save our lives when we encounter danger. I never thought that this flying disc would be used in such a situation. Zhang Zilu pursed his lips and threatened, if you leave, they will be dead. Fang Xia's eyes paused, then turned to Yan Xiangluo and said, this frisbee can take one person away. Which of you will follow me? Although she believed that Yan Xiangluo would not take the initiative to die and was confident of leaving, she felt relieved that she could take someone with her. Yan Xiangluo smiled and shook her head, no, I can take all my people away. Fang 11ER didn't see the slightest fear or anxiety in Yan Xiangluo's eyes, and was completely relieved. They met by chance, and Miss Yun wouldn't risk their lives just to let her leave. He nodded and said, the Fang family, a well-known weapon refining family, you will know where it is as soon as you inquire. If you have the opportunity to go to the Fang family, our fate has just begun. Okay, Yan Xiangluo did not refuse. Unexpectedly, Fang 11er is the daughter of the Fang family, a well-known weapon refining family. Is this Fang family the head family of the Fang family among the 9 families in the Huanghai forest on the Tianqian continent? They are also a weapon refining family, but it doesn't matter. Even if they are, the Fang family at this time will not remember the branch family that was relegated to the lower continent. The frisbee in Fang 11er's hand lit up, and in an instant it became as big as a square table. Fang 11er walked in, and the frisbee swooshed and flew away into the sky. Fang 11er's voice still lingered in Yuan Xiangluo's ears, "Sister Yun, please come to Fang's house early." The courtyard returned to calm. Yan Xiangluo was curious as to why Zhang Zilu didn't intervene when Fang 11er was using the frisbee. With his cultivation and the people he brought, it was not impossible to stop Fang 11er. It seems that this frisbee should have some other function that makes Zhang Zilu afraid. At least it's not something he dares to do anything about. This flying disc is very similar to the formation disc, but it can change its size, so it must have a space stone inside. Space stone is a very precious weapon refining material. Space stone must be used when refining all space storage devices, as well as the teleportation array. It was obvious that refining a flying disc was expensive, and Fang Xia's grandfather did not love her in general. Zhang Zilu said that this is the only flying disc in the Fang family. Yan Xiangluo sighed once again. It was right to go out for a walk. Look, you will gain some experience. She really didn't expect that she could actually see something like a frisbee. For a moment, she suspected that she was not living in a fantasy world, but in a science fiction world she had read in novels in another life. Fang Xia left, it was time for them to leave too. Zhang Zilu's mood has reached the extreme, and he doesn't care at all about the existence of Yan Xiangluo and the others, who are just like Xiaomai in his eyes. Raised his hand and uttered one word coldly, "Kill." Yan Xiangluo chuckled, "You are really confident." After saying this, he said to Xian and Qi Hao, "Let's go, there is no need to watch such a disgusting wedding." After saying this, he took the lead and walked down the stone steps. Xian was stunned. What was Ruan Xiangluo trying to do? Wasn't he going to die just by walking over? Qi Hao didn't think too much. He had blind confidence in his master and followed Yan Xiangluo like a little tail without hesitation. When Xian was still thinking about whether to let the hidden guards come out, he saw that Yan Xiangluo had already walked up to Zhang Zilu and his group. He quickly chased after him and was ready to fight, even though his cultivation was not as good as theirs. But we can't just surrender to death. After all, including the hidden guards, there are many of them. But what surprised him was that Yan Xiangluo walked past those people easily, without anyone making a move. Xian looked at those people in confusion. When he walked past them, he looked at them curiously. Why did they all have such fearful eyes? He looked at Xiangluo as if he were looking at some scary person. Including Chang Chuan Zhang Zilu, the fear and shock in his eyes could not be concealed at all. No one around him moved after he gave the order. Just when he was about to get angry, he found that he couldn't move, and then he realized that they had been hit. The most important thing was that he didn't know which move he was hit with. Xian understood something immediately. Xiangluo was the only disciple of Poison King Deng Chang's, the Little Poison King. But he didn't know when Xiangluo made a move. Why didn't he notice it at all? After passing those people, Yan Xiangluo stopped and turned to look at Zhang Zilu with a bright smile. Just think of it as a wedding gift for the city lord. The city lord will never forget it. Zhang Zilu looked at that alluring face and the bright and flowery smile, but it made him feel cold all over. He knew that what this woman named Yun said would never be forgotten was definitely not simple. "What did you do?" His voice was trembling. She was not afraid that she was the lord of a city. There must be a reason not to be afraid. Could it be that she had provoked someone from a big family that she could not afford to offend? Yan Xiangluo's big watery eyes flickered for a moment without saying anything, and she turned around and walked towards the place where the carriage was parked. Why should I explain my doubts to him? Why should I let him be confused and live in fear and doubt every day? This is a brand new life experience. This kind of wedding gift will be unforgettable for anyone. Xian had come to his senses at this time, and immediately hitched up the carriage first. Ruanxiang got on the carriage, and Chi Hao followed closely behind and sat next to Xian. Zhangzilu watched the carriage leave the courtyard, and Xian thoughtfully closed the courtyard door. The closed door blocked Zhangzilu's dark sight. After a while he said, "Can you move?" "Can't," a neat voice sounded. "Send the signal and let our people come." Zhangzilu closed his eyes. He has never regretted the decisions he made. He has come all the way from the lowest level of family where he was unable to practice to the present. Every decision he made has not been wrong, and it will not be wrong this time. Fang 11er was indeed the woman he had liked for more than 10 years. Although he wanted to get her very much, he once thought that with Fang 11er's feelings for him, she would not leave him even if he married someone else. But today he knows, I was wrong. My fault was that I was too confident in my feelings. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 469. Chapter 469. Never mess with. Fang 11er has always been obedient to him, making him forget that she is also a noble girl from a wealthy family, and she is also proud. But he is not worried about Fang 11er. After more than 10 years of getting along, he still knows Fang 11er's character very well. She will not do anything to him because of her betrayal of feelings, but he is worried about the Fang family, who is an extremely defensive person. Family. This was also the happiest thing that happened to him after he found out Fang 11er's identity, but the Fang family didn't accept him. Even though he tried all his means and Fang 11er threatened to sever ties, he still didn't accept it. For more than 10 years, the Fang family had really ignored them, making him really think that the Fang family had given up on Fang 11er, which was why he made his current decision. He didn't expect that the old man actually took the Fang family's precious frisbee. Gave it to Xianxia. It doesn't matter what happens here or there, Fang 11er is obviously the most important person in the Fang family. Now he understands that the Fang family is testing his feelings for Fang 11er in this way. Unfortunately, he didn't persist to the end. He blames himself for not understanding this. There is no use regretting it now. Since he couldn't borrow the strength of Xianxia, there was nothing wrong with him finding someone to borrow strength from. He didn't feel that he had done anything wrong. Those people from big families who can easily obtain cultivation resources will not understand how difficult it is for poor people like them to pursue cultivation. Originally, he didn't want to give up on Fang 11er. He really liked Fang 11er and thought that the relationship between them would make her willing to stay by his side without any status. But now it seems that there is no possibility for them anymore. What he is worried about now is whether the Fang family will take action against him. What I am more worried about is the woman named Yun. What is her background? Why didn't he know that there was such a powerful Yun family? It was unknown enemies that made him most uneasy. Fortunately, the other party did not have any intention of killing him, and it seemed that he did not want to enmity with him. He felt that the matter had not reached the worst point yet. The signal was sent, and a moment later, a group of people appeared in the small courtyard. They were stunned when they saw the situation of Zhangzilu and the others. Take us back. Zhangzilu also felt embarrassed. Chasing a woman to the point where he is so embarrassed that he is completely embarrassed. Fortunately, he is one of his own and outsiders don't know. But he didn't know how Yan Xianglue would let him go so easily. He thought that the immobility was only temporary, so he returned to the city lord's palace and called for doctors and alchemists, but no one could find out what happened to them, let alone help them recover. In the end, he had no choice but to wait, but on the wedding day, he still couldn't move. While the guards who followed him could move, he was the only one who couldn't move. What didn't he understand at this time? What did Yan Xianglue mean by the big gift she gave him? How could a groom who couldn't move go to welcome the bride? This is easy to solve, just get a substitute. The wedding was finally fooled. Although he missed the wedding night, he still managed to coax the bride with his clever mouth. The next day he was finally able to move, thinking about making up for the wedding night and coaxing his wife. After all, he still needed the support of his in-laws. But what made him collapse was that his body didn't respond at all and he couldn't get married at all. It would be okay if it was only temporary, but if it continues like this, all his plans will be in vain. That woman will not be able to tolerate her husband. At this time, Yan Xianglue and the others were driving leisurely on the road to the northern continent. Because of the incident in Changchuan City, they did not stay in any city in the past few days. Except for resting at night, they were always on their way, hoping to get to the northern continent as soon as possible to avoid trouble. 3 days have passed. Yesterday was the wedding day of the city lord of Changchuan City. Xian has been waiting for news from those who stayed in Changchuan City. After receiving the news, Xian became even more confused. Seeing that Yan Xianglue was not practicing, he curiously went over to lift the curtain of the car and asked, "Miss Yu, what did you do to Zhangzilu?" Yan Xianglue raised her eyebrows and asked, "What news have you received?" Xian said, "Zhangzilu who went to pick up the bride on the wedding day is a lie. I heard that the bride went back to her parents' home crying for some reason." Yan Xianglue hooked her lips and said, "I just gave them some medicine to make them unable to move. I accidentally gave Zhangzilu a little more. It has some not so good side effects, but it doesn't affect their life or cultivation." Xian's lips twitched, and he immediately understood that since the side effect did not affect life or cultivation, it could make the bride go back to her parents' home crying in grievance. He knew this effect without having to explain it explicitly. "I'm afraid she didn't offend Zhangzilu too much accidentally, but she did it on purpose." As expected, women can't be provoked, especially women who can use poison. She despised the treacherous Zhangzilu, so she gave him a drug that would kill off his descendants. No, to be precise, she gave him an inhumane drug. For a man, this was even more cruel than destroying his cultivation. He quickly put down the curtain and carefully examined whether he had done something wrong. He thought about it for a long time and couldn't figure it out. Finally, he patted his heart with relief. Fortunately, he would not be drugged. When the master comes out, he must remind the master that he must pay attention to his words and deeds, and must not make the girl unhappy. The name of this little poisonous king is not just bragging, he is really ruthless. Don't say that he didn't find out when Yan Xianglue administered the medicine. Even Zhangzilu didn't find out either. It seems that it will be impossible for my master to hug him from now on. She was so ruthless when Zhangzilu, who was like a passerby, betrayed his feelings. If his master betrayed her, he wouldn't even dare to think about the consequences. Thinking about it this way, he felt a little pity for his master. No, I have thought wrongly. With a person like Miss Yu, if the master still wants to hug him, they will despise him. Chi Hao rolled his big eyes several times. He could clearly see Xian's expression. It was fear, but the master had just punished the bad guy. Why was he so scared? The child didn't understand what happened to Zhangzilu. There were a row of question marks on his head. If he didn't understand, just ask. "Master, what's wrong with that bad guy?" Chi Hao asked curiously. Xianxia stared at him for a moment. How should she answer this matter? Xian outside held back his smile. This Chi Hao is really a treasure, and Miss Yu was very tolerant of him. If someone else asked this question, what would happen? Definitely the same as Zhangzilu. Yan Xiangluo coughed lightly and said, "You are still young and don't understand what I said. You will understand when you grow up." Chi Hao was even more confused. What does this have to do with his childhood? But since the master said this, he couldn't ask any more questions. He touched his stomach and said, "Master, I'm hungry." Yan Xiangluo immediately asked Xian, "How far is it to the next city?" Xian glanced at the front and said, "It's a quarter of an hour's journey." End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 470. Go to the city for lunch, and then leave. Yan Xiangluo didn't want to starve her little apprentice, whose cultivation was not yet to the point where he could practice without eating. The awkward topic was diverted like this, and the carriage sped along the road. At this time, Zhangzilu was sitting on a chair in the living room of his father-in-law's family, praying sincerely, "Father-in-law, my son-in-law has been tricked. Please help me find the woman in the red dress. My son-in-law will definitely be grateful." Zhangzilu was still very smart. He did not mention the matter of his daughter returning to her parents' home. Instead, he used his own identity to express gratitude to his father-in-law for his kindness and asked others to help him. This will not make people too disgusted. After all, his father-in-law is the head of the Lin family, one of the top families in the southern continent. Whether he can enter Xuanhuan Palace depends on his father-in-law. Although his current cultivation level has not yet reached the divine level, he knows that it will take less than 3 or 2 years for his cultivation level to reach the peak of the 9th level of the holy level. At that time, we will need an opportunity to enter Xuanhuan Palace to practice. As long as you can enter Xuanhuan Palace to practice, you can easily break through to the divine level instead of being stuck at the 9th level of the holy level. Although he is over 30 years old, he has checked that although Xuanhuan Palace only accepts people who have reached the 9th level of the holy level before the age of 30, those who have broken through to the god level before the age of 40 will also be kept. As long as he is not over 40 years old, he will have the opportunity to stay in Xuanhuan Palace. When the time comes, he will have Xuanhuan Palace with his back and no one will care about him. Even the Fang family will also care about him. Hence, he respected his father-in-law very much and had no arrogance at all because he was the lord of a city. What's more, now that he was asking for help, he had to lower his stature. Sure enough, the head of the Lin family, who originally thought he had arranged a good marriage for his daughter, now saw how Zhangzilu looked at it and found it distasteful. However, considering that his attitude was good enough and he was already married to his daughter, he had no choice but to help. The Lin family has already paid so much and cannot waste their efforts. If there weren't any outstanding descendants of the Lin family who could enter the Xuanhuan Palace, he wouldn't have spent so much thought on a son-in-law who had lost his man to someone else. He was not planning for the future descendants of the Lin family. "Do you have any information?" The head of the Lin family suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart and tried to be as calm as possible. Zhangzilu told the head of the Lin family anxiously the information he found. When the head of the Lin family heard the name of Yuan Xiangluo, he was stunned. His chest rose and fell sharply. It was not good to offend anyone, especially Yuan Xiangluo. He wants to get acquainted with someone, but he can't establish a relationship with them. It's better for him. He doesn't seize the opportunity to make friends and offends others. He is really good at causing trouble. He actually dares to offend someone who is respected by the Lord of the Southern Continent. "How much have you offended people?" The head of the Lin family held a glimmer of hope in his heart, hoping that it was just a minor conflict and not some irresolvable grudge. Zhang Zilu hesitated for a moment and then said truthfully, I wanted to kill her, but I didn't succeed. She plotted against me. The head of the Lin family couldn't breathe, and almost fainted from anger. Even though he was like this, he still asked him to help. It was lucky that the Lin family didn't get angry because of him. No wonder the other party was so ruthless. If it were him, he would fight to the death and would never show mercy. After a while, the head of the Lin family glanced at Zhang Zilu and said, Don't count on it, Yan Xianglego. I'll go out and see if I can ask the person from Yun's Hang Palace to take action. You can get it yourself at the expense. Zhang Zilu knew that the woman in the red dress was the recently rumored miracle doctor Yuan Xianglego. When he knew that it was impossible for her to treat him, he didn't expect the Lin family to ask Yuan Xianglego to help him treat him. He just wanted the head of the Lin family to help him find someone who can heal him, preferably the one from Yun's Hang Palace. Zhang Zilu did not expect that the head of the Lin family would directly find the person from Yun's Hang Palace for him. He was already very satisfied with today's results. Although he was about to bleed heavily and probably lose more than half of the wealth he had accumulated over the years, even though he felt distressed, he knew what was important and what was important. Having achieved his goal, he quickly left the main hall on the grounds that he wanted to see his wife and went to the backyard of Lin Mansion where his wife lived. No matter what method he used today, he must bring his wife back. Otherwise, how could he make his father-in-law determined to help him? Looking at his leaving figure, the head of the Lin family narrowed his eyes. It was not that he wanted to find the one from Yun's Hang Palace, but since it was the miracle doctor Yu Xianglego who had taken action, I am afraid that only the one from Yun's Hang Palace could hope to cure him. Zhang Zilu. He felt a little unsure when he thought that Yun Shanggong, the son of the city lord of Xianyang City, could not do anything, but was cured by Yan Xianglego. If the treatment fails, he will have to think carefully about whether it is necessary to continue supporting Zhang Zilu. Without good treatment, the daughter would not be able to give birth to Zhang Zilu's child. Without a child to support her, Zhang Zilu could abandon the woman he had loved for more than 10 years, so how could he care about his Lin family's daughter? Even if he seems to be good to his daughter, it is just so that the Lin family can help him. People like Zhang Zilu will never be able to control him if there is nothing practical to tie him down. What could be more fearful to him than his heirs? Although it is a bit difficult to have a child with his level of cultivation, it is not impossible. Even if he has a way, he still needs Zhang Zilu to have that function. The housekeeper on the side whispered, Master, can the person from Yun's Hang Palace please be moved? Normally, I can't invite you, but if Yan Xianglego takes action, he will definitely come, the head of the Lin family said with certainty. The steward immediately understood what he said. The man with the best medical skills in the mainland was suppressed by a teenage girl from a lower-class mainland. How could he be willing to accept it? As long as it is mentioned that it was Yu Xianglego who took action, he will definitely be curious. Coupled with his competitive spirit, he will definitely agree to treat Zhang Zilu. It depends on his ability and whether he can cure Zhang Zilu. This is not a matter of whether it can be cured or not, but a matter of competition between two people in terms of their medical skills. The one from Yun's Hang Palace will definitely try his best to treat Zhang Zilu. This is also the main reason why the head of the Lin family went to this person directly. Another reason is that since it was Yan Xianglego who took action, other doctors and alchemists may not be able to do anything. Anyway, Zhang Zilu paid for the invitation himself. He was just asking for a favor. Although the favor was not small, it was rarely used. Even if he made a gamble, since he married his daughter to Zhang Zilu, he naturally hoped that this plan could be implemented perfectly. 3 days later, Yuan Xianglego and the others arrived at the border between the southern continent and the northern continent. Before they crossed the border, Xian received the latest news that the person from Yun's Hang Palace had come to treat Zhang Zilu. Xian stared at him for a moment and immediately told Yan Xianglego the news.